dawn breaks over a mansion in Cheapside, and the silence is deafening. No footsteps echo through the corridors. No fires crackle in the kitchen hearths. No voices rise from the servants' quarters. In homes built for 15 souls, single survivors wake alone, wrapped in imported silk, surrounded by emptiness. The wealthy merchant class of London, those who survived, now inhabit houses that have become mausoleums. Bedchambers designed for bustling households stand vacant. Kitchens equipped to feed a dozen mouths prepare meals for one. The cooks are dead. The chambermaids have fled to country estates, offering double wages. The stewards have simply vanished, walking away from positions their families held for generations. From the upper windows of Cheapside, the view tells the story the survivors cannot yet speak aloud. London, a city that once pulsed with 40,000 lives, now whispers with 20,000 ghosts. The shambles, the butcher's quarter that used to run red with blood and black with flies, stands abandoned. Grass pushes through cobblestones. Shop doors swing on broken hinges, their rhythmic creaking the only sound in streets that once roared with commerce. Entire neighborhoods have gone silent, their windows shuttered, their gardens wild with weeds. The system has collapsed. This is what demographic catastrophe looks like when the bodies have been buried and the smoke has cleared. The Black Death didn't wound the city, it erased half of it. The plague moved through London like wildfire through a manuscript, consuming indiscriminately, and when it finally burned itself out in the spring of 1350, it left behind infrastructure built for double the population. Market stalls that once sold bread and ale and leather goods now sell nothing to no one. Churches built to hold hundreds echo with the prayers of dozens. Guild halls that once enforced rigid regulations, who could bake, who could tan hides, who could weave, are now run by men who earned their positions not through years of apprenticeship, but through the simple act of not dying. Tapestries depicting scenes of courtly hunts and noble feasts hang on walls like museum pieces from a vanished civilization. Because that's exactly what they are. The world those tapestries celebrated, the world of lords and serfs, of fixed wages and feudal bonds, of a pyramid of power stretching from king to beggar, died with the plague. And in the haunted silence of this June morning, the survivors are beginning to understand what comes next. 10 miles east of London, in the village of Stepney, wheat stands ready for harvest. Golden stalks bend heavy with grain, ripe under the June sun. This is the moment landowners have waited for all year, the transformation of seed and labour into profit and bread. But across England, in thousands of fields just like this one, the wheat is rotting because the workers are refusing to cut it. Under oak trees at field edges, in the shade of hedgerows, on the steps of manor houses, labourers sit with arms crossed and demands on their lips. Before the plague, a reaper earned 2 pence a day, a wage carved into the economic bedrock of England, unchanged for generations. Now, those same reapers demand 6 pence. Some demand 8, a few demand 10, and they're getting it. This is the labour crisis. The math is brutal and simple. Half the workers are dead, but the same amount of work remains. Every estate in England faces the same equation. Crops rot in fields. Construction projects stand half-finished. Warehouses operate with skeleton crews. Businesses collapse not from lack of capital, but from lack of hands. For the first time in 1,000 years, the worker holds the leverage. Across England, the same scene repeats with ruthless consistency. Landowners arrive at their fields expecting deference and finding negotiation, and the workers name their price. Because of supply and demand, the simple economics that govern all markets have, inverted. There are too few hands for too much work. The landowner who refuses to pay watches his wheat rot. The landowner who pays survives, but his profit margins shrink, his authority erodes, his certainty crumbles. The feudal system is breaking in real time. The serf, the bound labourer who owed service to land and lord as a condition of birth, is transforming into something new. Not a slave, not a subject, a contractor, a free agent, someone who sells labour to the highest bidder and walks away if the offer disappoints. The chains that tied peasants to the soil for centuries are severing not through rebellion or philosophy, but through bacteria and arithmetic. And across England's harvest fields, the sound of scythes cutting wheat mingles with something else. The sound of an old world dying. In market squares across England, royal criers mount wooden platforms and unroll scrolls. The Ordinance of Labourers, issued by King Edward III himself, is read aloud to sceptical crowds. The decree is simple. Everyone capable of work must labour for any employer who demands it, at wages that were standard in 1346, before the plague, before the dying, before everything changed. Furthermore, giving alms to able-bodied beggars is now illegal, designed to force the poor back into the fields. The penalties are severe: fines, imprisonment, branding for repeat offenders. The enforcement is non-existent. The government is in full panic mode. The King and Parliament are attempting something unprecedented, legislating an economy back in time, freezing wages and prices by royal command, forcing reality to conform to parchment. But markets obey mathematics, not monarchs. You cannot decree a corpse back to life. You cannot command wheat to grow faster. You cannot legislate away the fundamental law of supply and demand. The Ordinance of Labourers fails before the ink dries. In the market squares, crowds listen to the royal decrees with barely concealed contempt. The scrolls, written on expensive parchment, sealed with royal wax, inscribed with the authority of the crown, are treated as curiosities, then ignored. One decree, dropped by a departing crier, is picked up by a child and used to wrap bread. Reality has overwhelmed authority. The old mechanisms of control, law, tradition, the threat of force, are grinding against an immovable obstacle. There simply aren't enough people. The king can write all the ordinances he wants, but if he needs his castle walls repaired, he'll pay what the masons demand, or the walls will crumble. As evening falls, London's taverns fill with an unusual crowd. These are not noble establishments. These are working-class taverns in Southwark and Cheapside and Bishopsgate, packed with labourers celebrating an impossible truth. They have money. Bricklayers and plowmen crowd the tables. Dairymaids and spinsters fill the benches. Reapers and blacksmiths and dyers drink from pewter mugs and shout and laugh and gamble with dice. But it's what they're wearing that tells the real story. Velvet doublets, fur-trimmed cloaks, bright crimson and azure dyes, silver buttons, embroidered collars. This is profoundly illegal. Before the plague, sumptuary laws dictated dress by class with religious precision. Peasants wore rough, undyed wool, brown, grey, shapeless. Silk, velvet and bright colours were reserved for the nobility, visible markers of God's ordained hierarchy. But the natural order is dead, and its wardrobe is up for grabs. These garments were stripped from the dead, pulled from abandoned estates, bought from desperate merchants. The authorities attempt to enforce the sumptuary laws, but there are too few enforcers and too many violators. In taverns across London, rough hands hold silver goblets engraved with noble crests. Workers who spent their lives in coarse wool now wrap themselves in the symbols of the elite they once served. The poor didn't just survive the plague, they inherited the earth. For the first time in generations, English labourers are not hungry. They are not cold. They are not powerless. They have wages that let them choose. They have leverage that terrifies their former masters. And in the rowdy darkness of these taverns, they celebrate a golden age built on graves. Past midnight, in counting houses across London, survivors sit alone with their ledgers. The numbers tell one story: unprecedented wealth, estates inherited from dead brothers, properties bought from desperate widows at fractions of their value. On parchment, this is the most profitable year in living memory, but hands shake as quills scratch across ledger pages. Because everyone knows this cannot last. The plague came once. Memory insists it can come again. Every cough heard in the street, every fever, every moment of weakness becomes a reminder that death is patient and bacteria don't negotiate. Beyond the windows, London sleeps uneasily. The labourers celebrate their new power, but the nobles are already sharpening their response. Laws are being written in Parliament. Punishments are being devised in manor courts. The powerful do not surrender power simply because half of them died. They prepare to cage the worker kings who dared to negotiate. The golden age of the peasant has begun, but it's built on a foundation of corpses. In darkened rooms across the city, candles are extinguished. Prayers are whispered, not for wealth, not for health, but for the world to make sense again, for the hierarchy to reassert itself, for God's natural order to return. It never will. The plague broke something fundamental. The chains of feudalism, forged over centuries, blessed by church and crown, enforced by tradition and violence, were severed not by revolution or philosophy, but by a bacteria that couldn't be bargained with or legislated away. And in the ruins of the old world, a new one is being born, not through anyone's plan, not through anyone's vision, but through the ruthless mathematics of survival. The plague killed the people, but it saved the survivor. The chains of feudalism were broken not by a sword, but by a bacteria. In the half-empty cities and rotting fields of 1350, a new economic reality emerged, one built not on birthright and tradition, but on negotiation and leverage. The age of the peasant king had begun, and the lords would spend the next century, through law, through violence, through desperation, trying to cage him again. But the world had changed, and everyone, from the grandest noble to the humblest reaper, knew it. The day after the Black Death was the day the future began.